faceoff. Shoots it, deflected. Right in. Pietrangelo save rebound. Stopped by Pietrangelo. I don't believe that save. Neither does Peter Stastny. He can't believe the save that Pietrangelo just made on him as Frankie sparkling on that maneuver there to stop and rob Peter Stastny. He should get 5 to 10 for that.
Hello and welcome to episode 65 of Tendy Talk, presented by the BLPA and the Hockey Podcast Networks. I'm your host Joe, better known as Wash Up Goalie on social media. This week I chat with Boston University goalie coach, author of How to Be a Goalie Parent and Hockey Goaltending, founder of Stop It Goaltending, and if that wasn't enough, Director of Goaltending Development for Sense Arena Brian Daacord. There are so many good nuggets of information in this episode, so without further ado, let's get to the conversation with Brian. Yeah, Brian, thanks for joining me tonight. I appreciate you taking time out of your busy duties and spending some time with me and my listeners.
Really excited about it. Yeah, thank you very much for inviting me.
Yeah, so I don't know if you've had a chance to listen to any other episodes, but very much like the guys on In Goal, I always like to talk to people and find out, how did you get started with the game of hockey? Not just goaltending, but hockey in general.
Yeah, I'd say it was probably, I grew up in Montreal. A lot of people, since I've been in the States here for about 25 years, a lot of people think I'm American, but I'm really Canadian. And I grew up in Montreal and really fortunate. We had a backyard rink. Mm-hmm. So it was awesome. The boards were about 3 feet high. We had chicken wire down at the end. We had 2 floodlights, so one for each side. And our place was the place to go in the neighborhood in the wintertime, So it was nonstop, just spending time out there in the backyard rink and just, God, I can't even imagine how much time my dad spent snow plowing and taking care of that and making sure it was good for us. So my father played actually for the junior Canadians back in the day. He was a big centerman, and my brother played at Princeton. He was a little older than me. So my brother was a goalie. And then at one point he decided that he didn't want to freeze his butt off, because just to tell you how old I am, we used to play at Beacon Hill rink, which was outdoor, and he would freeze his butt off. So he got tired of that. So I got the equipment, and at the same time we got a new rink in town, so I got to play indoors. So it wasn't as bad as when he was playing.
That sure helps. It's funny you say that, because I'm supposed to play in an outdoor tournament this weekend in St. Paul, and thank God temperatures are looking nice for this weekend. We've been in a cold spell, like 20 below here in Minnesota. And this weekend, we're looking at about 20 above. So nice 40-degree swing in weather. I'll probably have to put sunscreen on for it.
Should be so much fun. When I played in Switzerland, when I got over there in Ambri-Piotta, actually one side was open at the top. So you always had fresh air. And it was really cool to have to be, you're inside most of the way, but you had that fresh air. It was a great combination. Actually, they have a brand new rink that just opened a little while ago. So they just built a new arena there.
Yeah, there's a really cool rink in the suburbs of Minneapolis that it's an outdoor rink, but they have like this cool like sunshade over it, so you're outdoors but you're still covered from the sun. But yeah, just getting that cool breeze and fresh air, it does make a difference.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Yeah,
it's got to be better for you too, right?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Well, the park I'm playing at this coming weekend, I skated there 2 years ago in the same tournament, and God, it was just so much fun. It's a really cool park in St. Paul. It's all volunteer led, and they have boards, chain link behind the nets. They have 2 rinks, but they have an oval around both of them.
Wow.
That's ice. And then they have a great big open area off to the sides of the rinks for just open skating. Then on the other side of the rinks, they have a little area for pond hockey, and they have a Zamboni that's just every hour goes out and clears it all. It's just an incredible little park right in the heart of St. Paul. And 2 years ago when we played, there's a bar right down the block. So me and one of the other goalies walked into the bar in full equipment.
That's hilarious. That's hilarious. You know, it's funny to think about from a development standpoint. the value of just going out and playing for hours. And
Mm-hmm.
so Peter Masters is very well known in this area as a skills development guy. He runs the Junior Bruins and, perennial top team in the area. And we had a conversation about training once, and he said, what an exciting study it would be to take a group of 15 players and have them go to the rink every day and play pickup hockey.
Mm-hmm.
And then take 15 other players and do power skating and stick handling drills and train them, right? As opposed to the guys that are just doing the pickup every day, and just finding a way how to protect the puck and finding a way to get to the net and finding a way how to, see the ice. So it was a really interesting conversation. It was an interesting way to look at, okay, what would be better? Would it be just figuring things out on your own and competing against other kids? Or is it, okay, this is how you turn. This is how you skate. So pretty interesting.
It's funny you say that, because last year we had the backyard rink, and I looked out there the one night, and some of the neighborhood kids, they had set up cones, and they were nobody was making them, but they were doing their own little skating drills. So even with just left to their own devices, eventually they do some of that stuff. But I know for me, when I think back to some of my fondest memories on the ice, it's those unstructured times of just going out there, having some fun, and being competitive with each other without the stress of having to skate some Herbies if we mess up.
And you get to try anything you want to, right? You get to be Zegras, right? You get to do whatever you want to do, and no one's going to give it to you, or you're not costing your team, or making the safe play. It's a great chance to get better.
That Michigan goal didn't come out of a regular structured practice. It came out of pond hockey,
Right. Yeah.
Which
so here's what I think is next, right? And I keep on selling this, and no one's bought into this yet, and maybe you'll see it one day. But so when you got a guy in a half board on the power play,
mm-hmm.
and he's kind of dishing the puck and he throws it to the bumper or whatever, like, he's got time. I'm just waiting for the guy in the half board to pick up the puck and lacrosse style shoot it on net on a bounce. So you think, because most of the time you're not going to have time to scoop the puck up and then take a bounce shot.
Right.
But from a goalie standpoint, that's a nightmare.
Yeah.
To have a puck up here and then the puck going down and bouncing in front of you with traffic and bodies. And how do you control that? How do you control that rebound? And I thought,
even without traffic,
even without traffic, where's it going to go?
Don't know where it's go. Yeah.
Don't know where it's going to go. And so I'm waiting for that. I've been calling for that for like 3 years, and everybody looks at me like I got 3 heads.
No,
but someone's going to do it. And then they're going to go, hey, you know what? I think Daccord mentioned that a few years ago.
I'm all about more listeners of the podcast, but nobody share this one with Trevor Zegras, because he's the kind of guy that would try it. Like on one of the shows that they refer to him as Spicoli. He's just got that vibe to him. Like, it is what it is. We're just out here having fun. But
you think about that goal, and then I'm sure that other coaches were the same as me, where we got out like 2 days later, the next day, whatever, and just had a guy behind the net and just talking the goalies through, going, okay, how do you want to play this? Yeah. Like, what's the best way? Are you going to try to get that puck before it gets to the stick? Are you going to try to knock that away? Or are you going to try to get big and gap out on where that, shot is actually going to come from? Like, it actually, we had some really good discussions on the ice about how you want to play it. And I think what we came up with the most part was you're trying to get a piece of that puck before it gets to the stick.
Yeah, I think that, and it goes back to when I was coaching high school hockey and I handled the defensemen. They got to have those sticks in check. you know, and not just on the ice, but when they're up in the air,
Yeah.
they got to have those sticks in check and don't let them make that, you know, let the pass go up, but don't let the guy in front have a chance to send it back the other way into the net.
Well, you think about the skill level now of these guys, and you watch. I don't know. Do you ever see the Elevato 2 videos?
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, look at the stuff that these guys can do with the stick, and I think you're going to see more and more of it come into the regular, the regular up and down of a hockey game.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, and especially with more kids, especially in the States, playing lacrosse, you know,
Yes.
as their off-season sport, it's just becoming natural to them that, I think you might see that lacrosse goal that you were talking about. Have you seen the video going around social media the last week or two of the Russian goalie coach talking about how he defends the um, Michigan goal? And
No, I didn't see it.
oh, he's out there in goalie equipment, but not a goalie mask, just has like the old CCM bucket on. And, you know, he's speaking in Russian. At least I'm guessing it's Russian. I don't know. I don't speak Russian. But there's subtitles, and he's talking about, you know, how when he played, there was no chance to score the Michigan goal because he's just standing there with his arm on the crossbar, you know, but his whole body to the post. Like, this is how we play wraparound, you know, and he's just, and some guy comes and he just tries throwing it into the net and it's just hitting him in the chest, you know, and obviously it's tongue in cheek, but I mean, when I was growing up, granted, when I was going to goalie clinics as a kid, we were still learning how to make skate saves and 2-pack stacks and all of that. But the idea was to hug the post. And I don't.
So you're gonna laugh at this though. I was on the ice at BU the other day. We were doing skate saves. So and what I was using it for, it was a whole edge day, right?
Oh,
so
yeah.
we did all this edge work before we got in the net. And then I said, okay, here we go. We're going to get on that outside edge. We're going to turn our skate out and we're going to make, and it was funny. I love it. You know, it's something different and you have a little fun with it and stuff like that. But the point was you're moving in a different way. You know, you can get in the whole neuroplasticity thing about, you know, just making your body do different things and extremely valuable just to be able to get on that outside edge, right?
Yeah.
Like I find that overall we've got a lot of goalies that are really good goalie skaters, but aren't necessarily very good skaters.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, we always say the goalie's got to be the best skater on the ice, but we're, to your point, for the most part, young goalies are really good goalie skaters. But if you take them to open skate, you know, take the pads off of them. And maybe that's what helped me is my high school job was skate garden. So I got paid to skate around in circles and yell at little kids. And so,
well, if you think about it this way, I mean, everything's fine and dandy when everything's in control and perfect.
Yep.
But now all of a sudden you're getting bumped and you got to spin and you got to get up and you got to get back. Or more importantly, you know, it really shows up, especially as a scout, right? You always have a heightened sense of interest on a hard rim. Because then you can really see how quick a goalie can skate and how well he can skate. Because they've got to get back there. They've got to stop a puck, maybe hinge, make a play. And there's such a value to a goaltender that can play the puck, but you can't play the puck unless you can skate. Yep. Skating is the real skill that comes into puck play. And a lot of people don't think about it that way. So, you know, you really get a lot out of watching how a goalie gets to a rim and play a rim. You learn a lot about his skating and then, you know, what he can do in the crease with that.
So I've told this story on the podcast. I played Division III JV college hockey. And our rink at St. Mary's was an Olympic sheet. So we would practice ripping the puck around. And I have to come up and stop it and practice. Well, because it was an Olympic sheet, we had more room behind the net. So I was used to getting a good push. And then we go to, it was the Gustavus Ice Rink. They were slightly undersized from an NHL rink, kind of like the old Chicago Stadium. It was kind of those
real tight corners, not deep.
And there was about this much room behind the net. So the first time the puck comes bringing around the boards, I get this push and I'm used to my big push to get back. I beat the puck there. Problem was I had such a hard push. I bounce off the boards and come fall back. The puck goes by me. And I just look at the bench and my coach is laughing. And we get to the locker room for intermission. He goes, I knew I forgot to tell you something about this rink. You know,
and it's important at the higher levels. It's important to know the rink. It's important to know the kick plate. And here's something really interesting that a lot of people don't realize. A kick plate, that yellow, kick plate that goes at the bottom of the boards, the kick plate isn't like one continuous piece, right? It's multiple segments.
Yep.
And where the segments meet usually have 4 screws on each side, right? So it's actually drilled into the boards tighter than the rest of the kick plate. So if you have a shot from the point, when they shoot off net to try to create, if that puck hits where the 2 kick plates meet, that puck flies off the boards.
Yep.
And it's a really interesting spot to know as a goalie. Like if you understand where that kick plate meets, it will often tell you how it's going to kick off and how quickly it's going to come back towards the net or towards, over the goal line.
Well, and to that point too, knowing your rinks to know maybe where they're not secured very well. The home rink I grew up playing in, the kick plate itself on the Zamboni door, for obvious reasons, would get a little loose every now and then. So if somebody ring a puck in it would hit that kick plate, it would come flying right out into the zone. So you had to be mindful of that if they were coming from what would be my block or my glove side and that end. It was like
so at Merrimack, second period, all right, at that time, we were at the other end. Now I think they start in the end closest to the Zamboni door, but that Zamboni door was a disaster.
Yeah.
Like when you got a puck written in, you better be ready. And it was funny when you got new teams coming in there, they don't know that. And then all of a sudden they get caught once in a while. It's funny.
Yeah. I forget the rink. I want to say it was Homewood Flossmoor growing up in high school. The gap between the Zamboni doors was bigger. And if you didn't know that, a lot of forwards got their sticks stuck in there. And then all of a sudden they're skating away without a stick and it's sticking up in the door like that. So you had to be a little more cautious going into that corner in that particular rink. And as you got older,
what we're talking about right now is something that, my primers, I do a primer every morning on Instagram, and this morning is differentiating factors, or this week is differentiating factors, and using your brain and just knowing the rinks.
Yep.
Right. Just, what's going to differentiate an elite goalie, a good goalie to an elite goalie? That elite goalie probably thinks a lot. And you're talking about knowing your rink, knowing the opponent.
Yep.
All the little stuff that separates an elite guy from a good guy comes into the little things. And one of the points I was making this morning, I do the primer, and then I have an academy with 16 goalies, and we go over the primer and we talk about it. And I was saying, hey, using your brain, a lot of that has to do with experience, and you can get a lot of experience by watching. You can only play X amount of games. You can only go to X amount of practices, but by watching games and learning the game, understanding the nuances changes everything. So like, tomorrow's differentiating factor is going to be puck play, and the next day it's going to be rebound control, the ability to kill pucks. You think about Pekka Rinne a couple of years ago, just started catching pucks out in front of his pads. Mm-hmm. And that skill now, getting up over the puck and catching in front of your pads and killing pucks and increasing your no rebound or your freeze rate, it creates less time in in your zone by the opponent, more structure, line matchups. There's so much that goes into it. So I guess my point is, talking about rinks goes into goalies being students of the game.
Yeah, it's interesting you say that, because when I think of conversations I've had over the years with my teammates, high school and college, and these are conversations I have with them now. When I talk to the other goalies, we're talking about, you remember that rink, you remember what the boards were like, you remember how, some of the stuff we're talking about, the way the space behind the net, or the neutral zone was smaller, even the benches, because I spent a lot of time on them, but yeah, this bench was higher. That one was, far away. What was up with that? But when I talk to the forwards, a lot of them are like, yeah, I remember this rink had really good nachos, or I remember the locker room was cool there. They don't remember the actual physical rink itself. They just remember the ancillary things, not what went into the game. But we were always looking at that. My goalie coach as a kid, he told us, whenever you get to a new rink, you gotta just go through your paces and see, is the face-off dot lining up with the little hash marks in the goal crease? Where's the blue line? We had our little spots. He's like, always make sure, because you're gonna notice when you go to a new rink, they're all slightly different. And going to be 41 years old here really soon, and every time I step on the ice, I still do that.
Yeah, and that's and little stuff like that can make a difference, right?
Yep.
Because remember, like, what's a good game? A good game, hey, you stop 30 or 32.
Mm-hmm.
You give up one more goal, now you've stopped 29 of 32.
Mm-hmm.
And all of a sudden, you're talking about one shot. So all the little things that you can do. Today we talked a lot about momentum and understanding momentum, and it was funny because I hadn't thought about this for a long time, but Corey Schneider would always tell me an NHL game comes down to 6 minutes. He said there are just small segments in a game where momentum will swing one way or the other.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're able to make a save during that time, then that was what you needed to do. And he said, so much of the play is controllable. And then you get in these small segments where one team starts to build momentum. And when you watch a game, you can feel a goal coming.
Yeah. Yep.
Right. And if you can do something to change that momentum, maybe you kill a puck and you take a whistle. Maybe you make a big save. Or maybe you're about to play a puck and you decide, you know what, I'm not going to play it. And I'm going to tie it up. I'm going to slow this thing down. Like little stuff like that. And it was really an interesting comment by him. He goes, if I can get by that 6 minutes, then I'm going to be fine.
Yeah, it's interesting because I think most goalies, we've had those feelings where you're like, okay, things are going to get hairy here.
Here we go.
You feel it and you're like, I got to be on top of my game more so than ever right now. Because if I'm not, we're going to be down a goal.
So I'm at an NHL game yesterday, and there's a 2-0 lead, right? So it's Charlotte playing Bridgeport, 2-0 lead. And Charlotte's got a power play. And it's about, halfway through the second period, a little bit past. And it's like, okay, if they put one away right now it's 3-0. It's Sunday afternoon, the back end of a back-to-back. And it's such a pivotal time.
Mm-hmm.
So Bridgeport kills off the penalty. Right as that penalty comes up, boom. Transition, go the other way. They score a goal. Now it's 2-1. Whole new ball game.
Yeah.
And it could so easily have gone 3-0 at that point. And it goes the other way. And now it's a dogfight for the rest of the game. So, that's when you look at that time frame, part of that 6 minutes would have been that power play and that goal, right? Maybe it allots to 2 minutes and 30 seconds or something. But if you look at that going, that was such a big part of that 2 minutes, right? Or 2.5 minutes was such a big part of that game. Totally it changed the complexion of the game.
Absolutely. Now I want to switch gears a little bit because you're multifaceted in that, you're a goalie coach, but you also work with Sense Arena. And I think that has been a game changer for goaltending in the last, 2-3 years now. But Sense Arena came out at almost the perfect time for goalies when many of them were told you can't come to the rink anymore.
Right during COVID, absolutely.
And I've talked to a few people about it, and they kind of agree. The goalies that were using Sense Arena during the shutdowns are clearly far and above the better goaltenders right now because they were getting those reps in without having to go to the rink. How valuable do you think the tool, not just for goalie training purposes, but I would almost say for the mental health of the goalie on one aspect, but how valuable do you think that tool has been just to keep goalies kind of focused during that time?
Without a doubt, and because you're in the hockey environment while
Yeah.
you're training, right? So there's just so many good things
Yeah.
about Sense Arena, and you look at that and the ability to train on your own. You don't need anybody.
Yeah.
You want to get a workout, you get a workout. And one of the biggest issues that we're having in goaltending is hip health, where the goalies are just, left and right, torn labrums and impingement. And geez, everything's done on your feet.
Yeah.
In Sense Arena. So you're getting all these reps without the wear and tear on your body. And the beauty of Sense Arena too is not only does it have its traditional drills with the avatar with all the different types of drills, but then you put in your drills that are 360 video.
Mm-hmm.
And now you're watching the release. And playing goaltender, it's all about the ability to read a release, read a play. And it's pattern recognition. But you can't literally think and analyze when the play is going on. It has to be subconscious. So the easiest way to think about it is this. When you learn to drive a car, you're 16 years old.
Yep.
And you're checking the rear view mirrors every 7 seconds. You got your hands in the right, you're being very cautious. You're thinking about every part of how to drive, and everything goes slower at that point. All your reaction time, everything's slower at that point. Now you go to the store to pick up something, you drive back, you don't even remember turning the ignition on.
Yeah.
And that's how we need you to play goalie.
Well, we don't remember turning the ignition on because cars are so smart. They're like, you're in the car, we're turning ourselves on now.
Yeah, we'll turn on. You just sat down, we'll turn it on.
Yeah.
The ability to see over and over again patterns and releases, and then you're able to do that without any physical wear and tear on the body.
Mm-hmm.
It's a game changer, right? It gives you the ability to continually get better on your own time and put your work in. And then the other side of it is you talk about the mental health part, right? So for me, the hardest part of playing goalie was anxiety, pregame anxiety. I was absolutely miserable the day of a game. From the time I was told I was starting till the time that I got my first shot, it was miserable. And then after that, I was fine.
Yeah.
And what you find with Sense Arena is at any time that you feel anxious about the game, throw your Oculus Quest on, put it on.
Yeah.
Take some glove, take some blocker. We have a new drill called the cannon drill where you can set up exactly where that puck's going. Feel the puck, go 10 minutes, take it off. Now you feel better. Okay, here we go. I got some shots. I feel better. So from a mental health standpoint, from an anxiety standpoint, it's great. And then the other thing is, maybe let's say you're playing Minnesota high school hockey and you play on a Saturday afternoon and you got the 1 o'clock game. And maybe you don't practice till Monday at 4 and that game doesn't go well.
Yeah.
So now you have to sit that feeling in your gut all the way from Saturday to Monday's practice until you can give yourself a cleanse and just cleanse that feeling away. Now what you can do is you can get home from the game, or you can wake up on Sunday morning and you can say, okay, I'm going to go for a 30-minute workout. I'm going to go for a 40-minute workout. I'm going to go work. I'm going to cleanse this myself so I can move on with the day. And I don't know if other people other than goalies can really appreciate the importance of this, but I wish I would have had it when I was playing.
Me too. Well, and it's funny because we were talking about pond hockey earlier, and even goalies, we grow up, we play pond hockey, we skate out, but a night like tonight, if I were a kid, I'd want to go out and skate around on the backyard rink. that's great for forwards. They can shoot pucks and, put their passing boards out there and all of that. But as a goalie, if we're by ourselves, we can't do much. I mean, Steve Carell had that great video years ago where he was the goalie practicing by himself. In fact, me and the kids last year on the backyard rink recreated it frame by frame just for fun.
Oh, it's too funny.
So, I mean, that was always the thing as a goalie is we couldn't practice on our own. Well, now with Sense Arena, we can,
And think about the habits that you can't do, Sense Arena, if your head's high.
Mm-hmm.
You've got to have that. You got to be up over the puck, and you can't be successful at Sense Arena if you don't have your hands out.
Right.
If you got your hands back, if you pull up and away on shot, you've got to fit box. You got to that box. You got to have your hands out in front of you, and that's really what's going to give you the ability to do well in the drills. And I was on the ice with Vinny today, one of the goalies at BU, and he just had to do his COVID protocol. So he was in his dorm room for the last 5 days, and so he grabbed the Sense Arena, and today was his first practice back, and he was like, "Oh my God, my hands feel so good. They're just up and out, taking space," and he thought how great it was that he had the Sense Arena for his time.
Well, I haven't used Sense Arena yet, but my son has an Oculus, and there's a very, I call it the poor man Sense Arena, where all they do is it's kind of, when you say the cannon drill, it's literal cannons but the puck's coming. But for me as a beer leaguer, I throw that on before a beer league game, and at least I'm getting shots from the point for a beer league warm-up. Literally got hit in the head last night by one of my teammates in warm-ups, but it was his first game back since COVID started because our team took the whole time off. So I was like, all right, you haven't skated in 2 years. You weren't aiming there. And he's like, no, I was aiming for like low glove. I was like, you hit me middle head, so
right in the forehead.
But it's like, I throw that thing on before a game and I feel the confidence going out there that I haven't in the past, but that brings up a good point. Well, a good discussion point, at least. Sense Arena is an amazing tool. And I think any young or goaltender who's playing competitively should have it. No bones about it. But then you got beer leaguers like myself whose kids don't play hockey. I know a lot of beer leaguers whose kids do play hockey. They're either a goalie.
Do you know how many beer leaguers have it?
Oh, I know quite a few, but
I was, before I started, because I've always been an advisor. Like the last 2 years, I was an advisor. Now I'm the director of goaltending development for Sensorina. But I never realized how many beer league goalies had Sensorina.
Oh yeah,
they love it. They just really enjoy the opportunity to get shots and do drills, and because they love goalie.
Yeah, there's two reasons I don't have it, and I'll kind of say one of it's the cost, but I've got a good job. So the cost really isn't the issue. It's I know myself and I work from home. And if I have that Oculus sitting behind me and the option to do a half hour of playing goalie versus a half hour of looking at spreadsheets, I know what I'm going to do.
Right.
That, if I'm being honest, that's the biggest reason. But I do know other, beer leaguers. I mean, there was the discussion this week on the GGSU Facebook page about Sense Arena, and quite a few of them are going, it's a little much. And, my thing is, well, if you got a kid playing hockey, doesn't matter if he's a goalie or a forward, get it for him, because you guys are now giving forwards the cheat code and letting them practice at home too with real life drills. But, and because of the way the licenses are, you get two of them. So, give your kid one, you take one. It's a no-brainer. But has there been any thought for the beer leaguers of almost like a Sense Arena light, where they don't get everything, just more of like a game day warm up and, a few drills here and there at kind of a reduced monthly rate?
Yeah, no, we actually have a staff meeting tomorrow morning at 5 a.m. Eastern time, 11 a.m. Czech time, but it's something I could definitely bring up. One of the things that is coming in April is the multiplayer. And that is going to be something at a much lower cost. It'd be, let's say, the gamification aspect of Sense Arena. And the cool thing is we could literally have our headsets on and play against each other.
Yeah, I heard them
Okay.
talking about that on In Goal, and it's just an amazing idea. I mean,
so we could go goalie against goalie.
Yeah.
And let's say, there's a shooter in Finland, and you could go goalie versus shooter and play in real time and compete. So that's going to be a window of opportunity for people to get a taste of what Sense Arena is like. It's not going to give you any of the training and development, because I think what separates from, let's say, a gaming company is the drive is to instruct, to give the clients, the subscribers, the opportunity to get better. And that's really the driving force. It's not to create a video game that someone pays $20 and they go hang out and play games. It's a vehicle in which to get better. So the multiplayer is an important aspect of that, because I think it's so important when you train that you end with something fun.
Yep.
And my vision of the multiplayer is at the end of the workout, you can then play the game.
Yeah. I love it. And, it's just thinking back to when I was a kid, I had a teammate that moved out of state. Well, if we both had the Sense Arena, we could still, go skate together. It'd just be virtually in different areas. And how fun would that be for, kids, and just kind of keep that connection. But yeah, I love it. Now, it's not just Sense Arena that you're involved with, but you've also got the Stop It Game Day app, which I've played around with. I think it's amazing. And having been a high school, coach where I handled the goalies, and I wish I had this, because so often, I think a lot of head coaches who don't really understand goaltending, they just look at the shots against and they're like, well, we lost 6-5. Why didn't they stop more shots? Well, we could see just by watching the game that the goalie played great, and it probably should have been 9-5. Well, now with this app, you're able to quantify it and, really say, that they let in 6, but it should have been 9. You guys got lucky, the fact that you were even in the game late. I think it's amazing, but it probably wasn't very easy to accomplish and kind of bring to market per se, was it?
Yeah, it took a couple of years. It took a couple of years to really get it to a point, because I wanted the app to be able to be used live.
Mm-hmm.
And for it to be used live, it had to be intuitive. And that's what took me a while to where's everything going to be on the game page, right? Where's everything going to be on the goal page? So to have someone be able to use it and use it effectively. So it's a great tool for everybody, from a goalie coach to be able to walk in after a game. And let's say you're the head coach and you say, oh, geez, our goalie's rebound control, I didn't like it. And I could go, well, it was at 82%. What don't you like about 82%?
Yeah.
So just because you saw one bad rebound, and, the ability for a goalie to get feedback, because so many goalies, the majority of goalies go play a game and they leave and they get in the car and they go home and there's no feedback.
Yeah.
And what SIG Game Day does is it pumps out 2 pages of 100% objective metrics that are not based on opinion whatsoever.
Yeah.
And therefore you get an honest assessment of what happened in that game. And then you can draw some analysis off of that and start thinking, oh, geez, yeah, my rebound control hasn't been very good in the last 4 games, or I've got to really work on my playmaking. It seems like every game I can't get past 80%, which means, 8 out of 10 are positive outcomes. So I think it's really a cool tool. And I think the biggest thing about it is there's so much talk about size. right? If a goalie's not 6'3", you're not interested, that kind of stuff.
It's the dumbest thing.
What game day doesn't know if a goalie's 5'6" or 6'4".
Yeah.
Like the app doesn't know. The app doesn't know that, if the goalie's dad is the coach or owns the organization or is a former NHL goalie, and all of a sudden everything's going to be flowered towards looking good for that goalie. So it's a really objective way to look at it. The app doesn't know if it's the third string goalie or the starter who's supposed to play every game.
Yeah. No, I as I mentioned earlier, my day job is actually an analyst. So the fact that we can make things black and white and, track progression, I'm like, this is amazing. And I'm kind of goalie. I put my GoPro up behind my net, just for fun and, kind of watch videos. And I'm sitting here going, I'm going to, it's super reasonable. It's what, like $5 a month? I mean, how do you not,
well, that's what it was. It was not priced for NHL teams. It was not priced for colleges. It was priced for the parent.
Yeah.
To be able to provide that for the kid. And one of the stories that not many people understand is last year I was in Arizona and we used SIG Game Day in more of a beta version, but SIG Game Day. And we did every game that Karel Vejmelka played in Brno in the Czech League. So when it came to really understanding what we had for a goaltender, we had all these metrics to support me going to the general manager and going, I think we should sign this guy out of the Czech Extra League.
And they're going, you're crazy.
Yeah, but think about it this way. It's not me just going, I want to sign this guy. He's got a good save percentage or goals against because he plays on a good team, maybe, right? No.
Right.
This is what we see, and this is what these metrics are going to show us.
Right.
And therefore, it was a big part of the equation of signing Karel, and he comes over from the Czech Extra Liga. And I'm not going to tell you I thought he was going to play in the NHL this year. I'd never tell you that. But we had some real good data to come bring with us to support why we wanted to sign this guy.
Well, what I love about the app is, the data it provides. I mean, it's data that's great for the squirt goalie to the NHL goalie.
Absolutely.
It works for but the goalie parent, it's easy enough that they can confidently record games. They can record games and, like I think of my son's buddy, his little brother is a squirt goalie right now, and his mom and dad could be keeping track of Oren's, progress from squirts through high school.
All the way through. Absolutely.
And they could see where the dips and valleys were. And the great thing, to pigeonhole it back to Sense Arena, you get home after that game and see what you got to work on. That Saturday afternoon game you were talking about, and you don't have practice till Monday. Well, based on my 2-page report, I know what I need to work on when I throw Sensorina on tomorrow.
Here's the nicest thing, and the nicest comments that I get are from the parents that say, my kid can't wait to get to the car. So they can see their report. And then we've never had as good hockey conversations that we have now, because now think about it. It's not dad saying, geez, I don't think your rebound control was very good today.
Yeah.
Or, you probably gave up 2 more than you should have given up. Now it's the app. So now the dad or the mom and the goalie, now they're on the same team. They're just listening to what the app's telling them, and then they're going to talk about it. And it takes that angst away. And I feel like the same way as a goalie coach to the head coach. Now the head coach can, who do you think we should play? Right. Yeah. Or, how do you think they played? Now it's just not me saying, well, this is what I saw.
Right.
This is what the outcome of the game was.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to sit there and say, oh, I thought he was great when his metrics weren't very good. I mean, it's it's not there.
Right.
So it gives you that ability to really speak with confidence and to be fair about the assessment. And you think about youth hockey organizations. Unlike every youth hockey organization, every team's got to have one.
Yep.
Because when they get to the end of the year and they've got to decide, is Johnny going to the A team next year or is Freddie going to the A team next year?
Yeah.
Well, when you say, well, it's going to be Johnny, now you can say, well, it's going to be Johnny because Johnny consistently beats goal expectancy by half a goal a game. He's in the 70 percentile for rebound retention. His gloves always at the 80 to 90 percentile. His playmaking is always in the 90th percent. Like now you can say to Freddie or Freddie's parents, this is why we're picking Johnny.
Mm-hmm. Now I love data. So my question is everybody's tracking these games? Is the data saved on your end so that
No.
okay, I was gonna say, because I could see a benefit of that. So you could say, okay, for this age range, this is the average expectancy. So, I'm thinking of my kids and their standardized testing that they do in school. And we see, they're either, in the 79th percentile, whatever. It could be interesting to see where they fall, but at the same time,
so
data
the answer
privacy,
to that,
I get too.
the answer to that is I don't want the goalie. Let's take the Toronto Marlies and Hannu Toivonen, who uses the app. Like he doesn't want me to have access to his notes and his comments and that kind of stuff. Like,
yeah.
So we don't want to record anything. And the other thing is, when you come down to the metrics, all these metrics were done by me and my staff.
Mm-hmm.
So we did all these games, close to 1,000 games, right? So to get the numbers for youth, to get the numbers for junior, so we did all those games. When you start using the metrics or the apps, the input from, maybe you do a really good job and you're really accurate.
Yeah.
Maybe the next dad,
or my dad's in the stands after going to the establishment that was above our rink and then coming down to do the game, and he keeps getting interrupted.
There you go. And so when you're doing the app and you're doing it properly, you have to be dialed into the game. Like you have to be focused on the game. If you're trying to sit with the other parents and have a conversation, and like, it's impossible. The app isn't for everyone, and there's an acclimation period to learning it. There's a learning curve that goes with it. The parents that have done a really good job with it are the ones that go to NHL.com and they just go and they watch the highlights. So they'll watch a highlight, hit pause. Okay, what was that? Next highlight, because the game recaps are all goals and saves.
Yeah.
So you can just practice, and then you get a sense of where all the buttons are.
Yeah.
And now you get used to it, and then you go into the rink. And now you can, boom, now you kill it once you get to the rink. But it takes a parent that's going to stay focused on the game and is going to understand it's going to take me a few games to get the hang of doing this.
Yeah. Well, like you said, I'm intending to use it for my beer league games this year, just to see how good I really am, because I make no bones about it. My team is not good. But I really like the group of guys. That's why I skate with them. So it's like, we're not going to win many. And in fact, I used to listen to the Goalie by Garmin podcast, the short 5-minute ones. And it was one of his early ones that just kind of hit home and made me enjoy the beer leagues more, when he was just talking about, worry about what you can't control. You can't control the fact that nobody's picking up the guy in the back door. Well, 4 of the 6 goals that were scored on me last night, that's exactly what happened. It was like, I can only stretch so far, guys. I was there in time, but I can only stretch so far. So it's like, okay, I wasn't mad about the fact I let 6 goals in. I was mad about
that's the key, though. If you think about it, the key is you can play on the worst team in the league and have better stats on SIG game day than the goalie playing on the best team in the league.
So you'll appreciate this. When I was in high school, freshman, sophomore year combined, we went 138-1 in league play.
Wow.
So I wasn't getting much support. It was on average 40 to 60 shots a game me and my goalie partners were seeing. My sophomore year.
Did you mean to say you went 1-38?
138-1.
Oh, 138-1. Okay, I got you.
Yeah. I wish I could go back and get the records, but I remember looking at the stat board toward the end of the season, and I had the highest goals against average in the league, but I was in the top 3 for save percentage. It's like it should not be like that. It was.
You think about a great example for me is Cal Peterson.
Mm-hmm.
So when Cal Peterson made his last year in the American Hockey League, he was in the bottom third in save percentage, goals against average. And statistically, he was the bottom third. Like he was playing for Ontario and they weren't a very strong team.
Right.
If you just looked at his save percentage and goals against and say, this guy's ranked 42nd in the AHL. How is he getting promoted to the NHL? And then you look at saves above average or goal expectancy, he's top 10.
Yep.
And like, it's really frustrating to see how much people weigh on goals against average and save percentage when we all know that so much of that is a reflection of the team you're playing on. If you really want to dive into it, dive into your goal expectancy or your saves above average. That's where you'll find out if you're average or above average.
Yeah, absolutely. So I want to be mindful of time because this is what happens when two goalies start talking. I say it all the time is we just.
And I got 14% battery going here and there. So,
so I got two questions to ask before I get to my. I ask every guest the same 10 rapid fire questions. So before I get to those, first one is, it's no secret your son Joey is a pro goaltender.
Yes.
At what point, not as a parent, because I think parents, I call them the love goggles. They always think their kids better than they really are.
Or vice versa.
True. My parents still think if I wanted to, I could go play in Europe. I was like, I never had that option. I never had that shot, but I appreciate it.
I love that though. That's always that you could always go play in Europe. Well, I coached in Europe for 6 years. It's hard to get a job in Europe.
Yeah. But I appreciate that out of them. But as a goalie coach, at what point were you looking at Joey going, you know what, this kid just might make it?
So I've got a a way to look at this, and that's a big part of the reason why I wrote my recent book there, How to Be a Goalie Parent. And it was because you get so many different thoughts and you get so many decisions to make with your kid and so on and so forth. And part of that book, I tell the story where I get asked, is my son a Division I goalie? Right. And I say, well, how many offers does he have? How many letters have you gotten? How many emails have you gotten? How many phone calls, inquiries, visits? Like, let's talk about stuff that's real. Mm-hmm. Okay. So I always want to deal, obviously from the app stand, I always want to deal with what's real. And what I always look at is a goalie, a Division I goalie? Well, at that point in time, are they on the path? That's what it comes down to for me. It's being on the path. And if you can stay on the path, then who the hell knows? Okay. Do you know how many goalies get drafted a year on average in the NHL?
Not many, but still
21.
Quite a bit.
Yep. 21. That may be 22 now because the last few years it's been a little bit more, but it was 21. So do you know how many goalies on average make it out of those 21?
It's not many.
3. Yeah. On average, 3 will make it out of 21. Okay. So so if someone's going to tell you, oh yeah, we're picking this guy, we know he's going to play in the NHL. No, I mean, they're going on some probability there, but at the end of the day, I think it's really important to see where you are right now and are you on the path?
Mm-hmm.
So like here in Massachusetts, we have the CCM high performance, the tryouts at the end of the season where the kids are trying out to see if they can go to the national development camp. And guess what? You get a pretty good idea where you fit in the food chain when you go out and try out against the other best goalies in the state.
Right.
So I think you're always looking to see, hey, where do I stand right now? Am I in the mix? Because if you can't get in the top 20, right, kind of tells you where you, hey, it tells you where you, and it doesn't mean that if you're not the guy selected to go to the national camp, that you're not on the path. If you're in that mix of top goalies in your state, well, guess what? You are on that path.
Mm-hmm.
And you got to use markers like that. Are teams asking me to play in summer tournaments? Am I getting asked to go to this academy or this prep school or this private school, this club program? I think there's a lot of, like, for me, I just say, go back to what's real. It doesn't matter what you're seeing. Just deal with what's real. And once again, going back to that app, that's the cool thing about it is it's real. It is what it is.
So based on everything you just said, it dovetails nicely into the next question I have. I'm a Blackhawks fan. Okay. And you happen to be coaching one of their draft picks in Drew Comesso. How excited should I be about his progression on the path?
Yeah, so he's right where he needs to be right now. He's didn't have a great start to the season, mm-hmm. which was a little bit of a reflection of the team. It was taking a while to get all the pieces, and you can imagine with the COVIDs and the injuries. And,
yeah, it's a crazy time.
A lot of, and it seems like, let's say over his last 10 games or so, he just, the team started to settle in. He started to settle in. And I think you should be excited. I don't think he's, your Spencer Knight that's going to come up and go right from Boston University into the starting lineup of Chicago, but he's on the path.
Yeah,
he's doing the things he needs to do right now.
I'm hoping they treat him the way they did Corey Crawford. And you used to see this a lot with NFL quarterbacks. You saw it with Aaron Rodgers, where, there's that development stage of 3 to 4 years where quarterbacks used to be the backup for 4 years and learn the pro game. And Corey Crawford was down in the AHL for, I think it was 3 or 4 years as he learned that pro game. And then we know, what happened. He became a Stanley Cup winning and I think a severely underrated goaltender.
We just ended up circling back to where we started, and that was pattern recognition.
Yeah.
Right. Just getting experience, seeing things over and over again. And I'll tell you what, if you think it's easy to play pro hockey, like, people are delusional. The challenges that go on to play, like, everybody, you got all the best trainers and coaches and the equipment and this and that. It's a grind and a half. It's almost like Division I college hockey. Mm-hmm. The kids, they all want to play. Like, I'm in New England here in Boston. They all want to play at BU and BC and UNH and the whole thing. And they have no idea that they've got to be a full-time professional hockey player and a full-time college student at the same time.
Yep.
These guys, it's a grind and a half.
Yeah.
To be able to do that. And then you get to the American Hockey League, and it's not easy. No. It's not ideal whatsoever. And the travel and all the little stuff that goes into, if you want to do it right, and that's, all the extra stuff you have to do to take care of your body, and the nutrition and the sleep and the equipment, and then all the external things that you have to do as a pro. It's not easy. It's someone's got to be mentally tough, and you only get that through experience and going through it.
Yep.
And I agree with you 100%. Just, hey, take your time, learn. I'm really excited for, my son Joey, and, getting the chance to play in the American Hockey League and get some games. He only had about 12 games last year.
Yeah.
Because he was taxi squad and he was injured and the whole thing. And, so you need games. You need to play games.
Yeah. Well, and, again, that's where that Sensorina comes in when you're taxi squad.
Absolutely.
Even injured, you got a leg injury, your hands still work. You can still get those reps in,
Absolutely.
where you can't necessarily go on the ice with the leg injury, but you can still throw that Oculus on.
Hey, you can sit on the couch and watch release after release after release with your feet up, and you'll be processing all this information.
Yeah. So I'll be mindful of time here. I'll transition into the 10 rapid fire questions. What I love about these is I think you're my 65th guest. Actually, no, 64th, because I've had Dustin Smith, the Nashville E-Bug, on twice.
Yeah, I've chatted with him.
Yeah, in fact, I'm supposed to talk to him and Kyle from down in Tampa Bay, who dressed for St. Louis. I'm supposed to talk to those two guys again tomorrow.
Cool.
But I've asked everybody the same questions, and I'm kicking myself that I didn't start this sooner, but I'm now going back and because I'm a data guy, putting a spreadsheet together on everybody's responses to a number of these to see what the breakdown is. So the first question is, what's the craziest coaching moment from your career? Where a coach just, I like to use the Mike Keenan example of throwing sticks on the ice at the refs or something like that.
I was involved in a full-out brawl in Ombre Piota versus Lugano. And I'll never forget this. John Sledval was the coach of Lugano. And in the middle of the brawl, things were crazy. Like everybody was fighting. And then everything kind of settled down. And then all of a sudden, he puts one foot up on the board and one foot on the bench, and he starts yelling and screaming. So one of our players goes over and punches him in the chest, and it starts all over again. So that would be my craziest coaching moment. How's that?
That works. I like it. So the next question, what's your favorite all-time goalie mask?
Jared Cheever is easy. That's why I became a goalie. That was a big reason and a big idol of mine.
Yep, that is a very popular answer. What's your favorite rink that you've played at?
Geez, favorite rink. Let's say my favorite rink that I've been in, Bell Center in Montreal.
Okay.
I had a chance to go out there. I was coaching for the Bruins, and my dad came, and it was pretty special. My dad at the Bell Center watching his kid on the ice at the practice there.
That fun.
Cool. Yeah.
Fun. Yeah. I think as a player, one of my fondest memories was summer between my junior and senior year, and Billy Zito was still a player agent. And I grew up in Chicago. And so he had a skate there, and I would go to the rat hockey beforehand. And Joe Corvo came up to me the one day, he goes, "Hey, we need a goalie tomorrow. You want to come early?" It's like, yeah. So I wound up skating with them the rest of the summer. And as I like to joke, oh God, I can't remember the fellow's name. He's on Spittin' Chicklets every now and then. But he's from Chicago, played in Winnipeg, and he would go to these Billy Zito skates, and Billy saw something in him, and he wound up playing, getting him to play pro hockey. And I'm like, I was at those same skates, and Billy never said anything to me. But, there's all these NHL guys. My dad's office with the fire department at the time was right across the street. So he would come over on his lunch hour and watch me skate. And I remember, it was Corvo coming down full speed on a breakaway, and he just makes a deke, and I go into a full split save and stop him. And I just looked up and saw how excited my dad got watching me do that. And it's just like one of those, sometimes it's not so much about us. It is about those parents every now and then, and I'll probably make them. So the next question is, what's your favorite stick that you've ever used?
Okay, so I'm playing in Switzerland. I was an average puck handler.
Uh-huh.
And one day I got a Ron Hextall stick with a big rocker, and all of a sudden I could fire the puck. And that by far, that was it for me. Like I went from an average puck handler to a good puck handler just because of the rocker on the stick.
Yeah, and he used those Sherwoods, didn't he?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
it was great.
So what's your favorite youth hockey memory?
My favorite youth hockey memory, I would say going to my first Canadiens game. And then the next morning I scored 5 goals. I was a forward.
Oh, nice.
I was so excited. I walked in, and it was Canadiens Leafs. And I was so excited to play the next day. I lit the lamp the next day. Yeah.
Oh,
I'll never
fun.
forget that. Yeah. It's amazing. Hey, you can remember that. I can remember the first time walking into the rink, like, and seeing
Yeah.
the Montreal Forum at the time. I'll never forget that. Yeah.
Yeah, I think Billy Crystal in his one special was 700 Sundays or something. He talks about that first time going to Yankee Stadium, and
Yeah.
and it's true with all of the old ballparks and stadiums. It wasn't the main concourse where you look down and you see everything as soon as you walk in. It was you had to walk through that tunnel, and it's so dark. Then all of a sudden, it just opens up, and it's like wow. And I remember the same thing walking into Chicago Stadium for the first time, and in fact, when I had Eddie Belfour on the podcast, I told him this story. I was a huge Belfour fan, young goalie in Chicago in that time. And we get tickets to go to a game. I believe they were playing the Dallas Stars on New Year's Day, last year at the old Chicago Stadium. And we're there early for warm-ups, and I see Jeff Hackett come up those stairs first, coming out of the tunnel. And I was so upset because I wanted to see Eddie play. And I told Eddie this. He goes, I was probably upset too because I wanted to play. But I did get to see him play later that year. I went to a few more games. It was just, walking through that tunnel and seeing
I'm
that.
57 years old. I'm 57 years old. Every time I walk into Fenway Park and walk through the tunnel and see the park for the first time, I still get a jacked up over that.
Yeah, you get chills. It's just something about it. So the next question is, what's the best chirp you've heard in your time in hockey?
Oh God. I can't think of one right now. We'll have to come back to that one.
I think the best one that's been shared so far was David Hutchinson of In Goal said he was at a camp with his son, and the goalie coach looked at his son and said, "You must be really good at dodgeball." So what is the worst post-game beer?
The worst post-game beer, anything not cold.
I agree wholeheartedly.
Yeah.
Yes. So when you tape your goalie stick, do you go heel to toe or toe to heel?
I go heel to, I go toe to heel.
Is there a reason?
I will tell you, I think I had a reason at one point, but I can't remember.
Now it's just habit.
Yeah. Well, I haven't played forever.
Yeah.
But yeah, I went toe to heel.
Okay. So, and that's the main question that I started that spreadsheet. See what the breakdown is. It's overwhelmingly most goalies go heel to toe, but there are a few minority. And what I've learned is it's mostly the goalies who really like to play the puck that go toe to heel.
Well, yeah, but you think about it, you're going back to my day, we actually used to tape around the heel.
Yeah, me too.
So it may be different now, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, some goalies barely even put tape on their stick.
Yeah, it's probably different now. We're going back a ways.
Yeah, well, I was having this conversation with another goalie, and, we went over the heel because we were using those wood sticks, and that's where the water would just absorb in there, and you had to almost protect it to get a little more time out of your stick.
I think I went heel to toe. I'm picturing, I'm got in my head right now picturing what I'm doing. All right, this is going to keep me up tonight. You know that,
right? I do what I can. That's going to be the next module in the Sense Arena is taping your stick then. So the next question, what was your favorite number to wear and why?
So when I was in Switzerland, my first year, I was number 1. And I re-signed. I got a new contract that very first year, signed a 3-year contract. I was like, well, there was a guy in the league, Ricky Booker, he was 55. And I love the double number. And I was like, he's the only 55 in the league. So I thought that was so cool. So I'm like, I want a number that I'm going to be the only guy in the league wearing the number. Mm-hmm. And I loved the fullbacks in the NFL. I just love those big guys. They ran for like 2 yards at a time, but they blocked. They were the big physical guys. So I went with 44. And that was like a double number, signature number, fullback. That was it. That was my signature number.
The only thing missing was like that neck roll that the old
Oh yeah,
fullbacks
the
used to
white
have.
neck roll that came. Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, that's it. That was the number. That's why.
That was the backup towel when you weren't playing, right?
And I loved the double number, and I loved the signature. That I was the only guy in the league for a long time with 44.
I like it. It is unique, and you know, my college goalie coach, he was asking me, what's with goalies these days? You have 88 and 19 and all these. It's like, I don't care what they are. I just want to know the meaning behind it, and
I love
that's a
it.
great meaning.
I think it's awesome. Why not? Like, why shouldn't we wear some different numbers? I mean, look, if the players like Austin Matthews start stealing goalie numbers, well, why don't we start using player numbers?
Yeah. I mean, when Dustin Byfuglien was wearing 33 for Chicago, it was like,
yeah,
I love Buff as a player, but leave our numbers alone.
Well, that's what I'm saying. You got these stars wearing goalie numbers, 29 and 33 and 34.
Yeah.
So that was, that's my thought process.
Yeah. Although on my team, I wear 39, and our team captain used to be a goalie, so he wears 30 out there. It's like, okay, that works. You're just an old goalie who can't put the pads on anymore. So the last question I have is, what advice do you have for young goaltenders?
Oh.
If you can leave them with just one piece of advice, what is it?
Yeah, take the stairs. Don't take the elevator. Elevator is the worst thing that you can do, and it touches on what we were speaking about earlier about Crow taking his time, and just everybody seems to be in such a rush. They feel they need to play in the top league and on the top team, and they need to get to this and they need to get to that. Just stay on the path. Just keep getting better every year. That's it. Just stay in the moment. And here in Mass, right? So we just got through the holidays. Mm-hmm. And I'll tell you what's going on with almost every club elite team in New England right now. Everybody's talking about next year. There's still like 2-3 months left in the season, but everybody starts talking about, well, who's staying, who's going to that team. Like this, everybody's such in a rush to move forward. Take the stairs one step at a time and just keep on getting better, get more experience, and get more callous, because you need those calluses to be a goalie, and keep on building that up. Take one step at a time and take the stairs to the top.
That's great advice. And, because it reminds you to enjoy the moment too. When you slow things down, you enjoy it so much more. So where can folks follow you on social media so that they can keep getting some great advice from you?
I would say that where I'm most would be on Instagram, the Stop It Goaltending Instagram site. We have about 25,000 followers, and I do a daily primer, which is a little goalie lesson every day for about 30-40 seconds.
Yep.
So I do my primers, and then on Fridays at noon, I do a little talk about what's going on in the hockey community or the goalie community. And so I think that's pretty much where you can find me from a social media. My book is on Amazon.com, How to Be a Goalie Parent, and the app SIG Game Day is on the Apple Store, and Sense Arena is sensorina.com. Sense it like body sense, sensorina.com. Yep.
And there will be links for all of that in the show notes, because as we know, goalies, we forget things easily. So we'll make it easy for them to find, especially if, you're in the car and want to check it out later. But Brian, thanks so much for taking time out of your busy day to talk to me. It's been a treat. I think we could have gone a lot longer if we allowed ourselves.
It's amazing, isn't it? Well, thank you so much for inviting me. It was great to talk hockey. Great questions.
Yeah.
Great talk. I thoroughly enjoyed my time. I really appreciate it.
I didn't want this conversation with Brian to end, because it seemed every question led to more great advice for goaltenders of all ages, but especially those younger goalies out there who are still trying to continue moving through the ranks as they chase their dream of playing in the NHL. If you're not already following Stop It Goaltending on Instagram at stop_it_goaltending for the morning quick hits, do so. You can also find them on Twitter at Stop It Goalies, all one word. Be sure to follow Sense Arena on Instagram and Twitter as well at Sense Arena, no spaces, and follow Brian on Twitter at Brian Daacord, no spaces. You can always follow me on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube if you aren't already, simply by searching for Washed Up Goalie. Visit washupgoalie.com for some great hockey-related content, my beer league hockey video highlights, and of course, all podcast episodes. If you want some Washed Up Goalie or Tendy Talk apparel, be sure to visit my Threadless shop by clicking the merchandise link on my website. If you like this podcast, go listen to the BLPA Big Show. It's the OG BLPA Podcast Network show where a couple of beer league players talk beer league hockey, draft experience shenanigans, and exploits from around the game. Be sure to check out the full lineup of hockey-related podcasts on the Hockey Podcast Network as well. There are too many to list here, but shows like the Europuck Podcast, the Hockey Minds Podcast, and the Between the Whistles with Johnny Infamous podcast can all be found. I need to thank the band The Zambonis for allowing me to use their music on my podcast. You can download their music on iTunes or listen wherever you stream music from. I'm always working on lining up other goalies to talk to. If you are a goalie or have connections to a goalie who I should talk to, shoot me an email at washupgoalie39@gmail.com or send me a DM on social media. Let's not forget, if you're a brand who wants to sponsor the show, be sure to reach out to me. I'd be happy to talk. And finally, if you like what you hear, be sure to subscribe, rate, and comment on the podcast platform you're listening on. It's a quick action on your part that helps others find Tendy Talk. Until next time, keep your stick on the ice and your body square to the puck.
Checked out Ketchell's Pond. He calls up Tommy Taylor. Tom said the pond, it froze right over. So get the nets and lace your skates and get the hot chocolate for your mom today. Get home. Tarkin.
Yeah, Dave.
Hey, have you checked out the pond today?
It's funny you ask. I was just down there this morning.
Yeah, any good news?
Well, Dave, the pond?
Yeah? It's froze right over.